Valentine's Day cards by ex-warrior Princess X. I posted this once before, but didn't do the spacing correctly, so it was removed. I also found the cards, so now I can include the pictures. This is something that I just can't figure out. I'm not sure what you think about it. Maybe you guys have an opinion. I'm a 19-year-old female. When I was 8, right around Valentine's Day, I received one of those small manila envelopes in the mail. It had no return address, but it was sent from another state that I didn't know anyone from. When I opened it, it was simply a folded sheet of computer paper with a picture of Linus, the Charlie Brown character, holding a heart in his blanket. It appeared to be drawn and colored by hand. On the inside was a short Valentine's Day message with a small personal detail about my life that only someone close to me would know. Naturally, I thought it was probably my grandparents or parents trying to do something nice for me. Every year, I received one of these cards around Valentine's Day. Every year, it had the same picture of Linus, included a detail of my life, was typed in the same font, and was from a different state. Example, the V-Day after I adopted my dog Bailey, the card said, "Would Bailey be jealous if you were my Valentine?" I kept most of these and managed to find a few as I was rummaging through old and worthless junk. I'll include some pictures at the end. When I got older, I finally mentioned it to my grandparents, fully expecting it to be them. But they swore that they weren't sending them. I honestly believed them because I had expressed my concerns by this point, and they weren't the type to want to scare me. Neither were my parents. The only other family I have in the US are my dad's parents, who don't speak English well and have never owned a computer. They emigrated here and wouldn't know people in so many states. Aside from my parents and my brother, who find it strange as well, I have no other family. I still get cards every year, always the same time, except for one Valentine's Day a few years ago. I received a stuffed teddy bear and a big chocolate heart with a card. Needless to say, I did not eat the chocolate, and I searched that bear, half convinced that it could be a hidden camera. After that year, I started just receiving the cards again. In any case, as a child it was a sort of exciting and mysterious thing, like having a secret admirer. Now it's just unnerving. I have racked my brain for years trying to figure out who it possibly could be, and have come up empty-handed. It still makes me uneasy. But if this person wanted to hurt me, I think they would have done so by now. I've never felt outwardly threatened by them, so I don't think there's much I can do about it. The main thing I want to know is why. What is the point? And who? Who is sending the cards? I may never find out. Valentine's Day cards update by ex-warrior Princess X. I found some information about the teddy bear and chocolates I received 5 years ago. For those of you who haven't read my first post, it's about anonymous Valentine's Day cards I've been receiving since I was 8. Anyway, here's what else I found out. A lot of you guys had questions about the bear, and I actually found it. I'm glad that, for whatever reason, I decided to keep it, even though it gave me the creeps to pick it up and look at it long enough to take pictures. I'll add some more information that I find interesting. I don't see any real significance about the bear itself. If anyone recognizes it, or thinks it means something, let me know. The tags at the back of it, which I never looked at before, offer more information. Apparently it was handmade in Vermont. It even has a phone number and a website of the company that made it. It also includes the year the bear was made, December 2010, which leads me to believe that I probably received it 2 months later, February 2011. That would make me 14 at the time. I have been to Vermont several times to visit my great-grandmother in a nursing home. She died quite a few years ago, definitely before I was 14. She was 101 when she died, and not very coherent in the years before that. So, although it's possible it was her, we were never close, so I doubt it. It's interesting though. Any thoughts? Another update. So, I should have looked at the website before I posted my previous update. I looked around, and it seemed that their main thing is beargrams. Basically, the sender picks a teddy bear and gives it whatever address they want to send it to. The company puts that, a chocolate and a note in a fun box, and send it. When I saw the picture of the box, I remembered the box this bear came in. It was definitely the same one. I remember it being a little odd to me at the time. The website describes it as a fun gift box printed with the travel games inside, so your bear doesn't get bored on its journey. And of course, the box also has an air hole to ensure your bear gets lots of fresh air. This just adds to the childlike attitude of the person. That may be an appropriate gift for an 8-year-old, or even younger, but a 14-year-old? One other thing that I noticed is that the bear this person chose was $50, cheaper than most of the other ones I saw, but definitely more than the cost of the mail service. Also, there goes my theory about the person living in Vermont. One thing I did notice was that they have a lifetime warranty, so if your bear gets damaged, you can either send him or her back to the bear hospital to be nursed back to health. So I'm wondering if I called, would they be able to give me any information on the sender? Or was it too long ago? The whole thing is just so damn bizarre. Valentine's Day cards. Another update. By Ex-Warrior Princess X. Not sure if this warrants a new update, but I'm back and not dead. I've just been super busy the past couple of months with the holidays and starting a new semester, etc. I've gotten several messages from people wondering what happened, so here goes. By the way, if you haven't read my other TRUE posts, here's the first one, and here's the second one. I wish I could tell you that I found out who was sending the letters, but unfortunately, I have no new information about that yet. I sent the bear company an email. I don't like talking on the phone to strangers about normal things, let alone requesting 5-year-old information about a possible stalker that requires a long, awkward backstory, and I never got a response. So I sucked it up and tried calling customer service, but was on hold forever. So I plan to call again though, and will definitely update again if I find anything out. This popped into my head again the other night, so I did some more sleuthing. I kept all the cards I received from family members and friends, so I took it out of the stack and sat down with the other V-Day cards, comparing the handwriting again. As I concluded before, it doesn't match any of them. It's sort of hard to compare, because the writing on the V-Day cards are always all caps. The letters I could compare weren't a match. The more I look at the handwriting, the more it looks so familiar. Almost too familiar. But I cannot for the life of me figure it out, or where I've seen it before. It doesn't match any of my family members. It's bugging me quite a bit. I was also thinking that it's too bad I can't put a picture of the handwriting here for you guys to analyze without giving out personal info. I figured out a solution. I spent altogether too long cropping each individual number and letter off the page, scrambling them up, and putting them into a random order so you can see it. I think since I took the letters and numbers from several different cards, mixed up the order, and didn't include every number and letter, it'll be okay. If not, let me know and I'll take it down. Oh, also, I found another card, the one from the year I got the bear. This is how I was pretty sure it was that person who also sent the bear. A few things I want to note about the end of this card. It doesn't have a stamp from the state it was delivered. Postage due 20 cents was stamped on the envelope. A heart is drawn on the corner of the envelope. The way the writing is worded sounds wrong. I couldn't bear it if you won't be my Valentine. Like future tense, then present tense. It just sounds odd to me. A couple of other things I've noticed. The 2008 and 2009 cards are handwritten on the envelope. 2011, 12, and 15 are the only other envelopes I could find, and they are all typed in that same Jokerman font. How do you type a specific font onto an envelope? That just occurred to me for some reason. Also, on the oldest one I have, it's addressed to Miss my first and last name. On that card they also misspell my city's name by one letter. It's corrected in all others, and there's no miss, just my name. And I don't go by my real first name. I've always gone by something slightly different. Hard to explain without revealing it, but it's common for people with my real name to go by this alternative name, if that makes sense. Anyways, it's always addressed by the same name I'm called by, not by my real name. Anyways, that's all I have for you except pictures. I love hearing your thoughts, so if you have any ideas or comments, please post. Valentine's Day cards. Checking in by Ex-Warrior Princess X. Hey all, I've gotten a lot of emails asking if I know anything more. Sorry, I haven't posted anything lately. There's been a lot going on in my life. Just to update, I have moved a few hours away with my boyfriend, so I'm hoping that will help. I will definitely update again come February. I don't know anything more about the cards for sure, but I have a hunch it could have actually been my dad. Long story short, I have been realizing through therapy that my dad is an extreme narcissist, and at this point, I wouldn't put anything past him. I'm not going to ask him again, because at this point, I have cut off contact with him for unrelated reasons. I don't know if this makes it more or less creepy. In any case, just letting you guys know that I'm still alive and well. I appreciate anyone who has sent me a message checking up on me. I'll definitely let you know if I find out anything else. Screw Valentine's Day by Christopher Maxim. I graduated from high school a few years back. I still live with my parents, but I'm using this time to my advantage. They're kind enough not to charge rent, and that allows me the ability to save up almost every penny I make. The hope is that I can one day start up a small but legitimate business and move into my own apartment. You know, the American dream. You see, much to my parents' dismay, I don't have a steady job. I prefer to take a DIY approach and be my own boss. I buy and resell things online and take up odd jobs here and there to supplement my income. With the help of social media and Craigslist, I'm able to regularly mow lawns in spring and summer, rake leaves in autumn, and shovel driveways in winter. Eventually, I'll have enough to buy a decent car and reach clients outside of town, maybe even hire a few lackeys. What I'm here to share with you, however, is an incident that occurred almost 2 years ago, one that keeps me on edge to this day. In my first year of business, I introduced a flower delivery service. Depending on the season, I'd either pick flowers from around town or buy them from a local florist, then deliver them to a person of my client's choosing. Though it wasn't my most popular service, it did bring in some good money. You'd be surprised how much folks are willing to pay to woo a loved one with plants. In all the time that I biked flowers back and forth from person to person, I only ever picked up one regular. His name was Red, and he was absolutely infatuated with his girlfriend, Clara. Once a month, I would deliver a dozen roses to the local hotel where she worked. No matter how many times I went over there with the same bouquet, she always acted surprised and delighted to no end. They really did have something special, and I was happy to be a part of their lives, at least in some small way. But then, February rolled around. Albeit my least popular job, I do gain a little traction during the Valentine's season. Along with the additional customers, Red goes all out and has me deliver 3 bouquets on the week leading up to the holiday. Between these deliveries and keeping up with my usual services, February beats the hell out of me. This particular Valentine's week was a little different. It was getting close to the big day, and I hadn't received a single order from Red. I usually don't get attached to my clients, but I was quite fond of Red and Clara. Because of this, I decided to reach out to him. I tried calling him. No dice. Nothing but dial tones and voicemail. I thought about riding over to the hotel to ask Clara about it, but that would cut into the rest of the work I had lined up for the day. With no viable options left to me, I simply went about my day and kept a positive mindset. Something felt off, but I was sure it was nothing to worry about. The next day, Red called back. He was fine, but there was something he wanted to discuss with me. Of all the phone conversations I've ever had, this one tops the list for the most bizarre. Red hadn't ordered any flowers because he was getting ready to pop the question to Clara. He wanted the lack of gifts that week to leave her confused and then catch her completely off guard on V-Day by asking her for her hand in marriage. I was happy for them, but that's when the conversation took an unexpected turn. Red didn't have a ring. He was wealthy and could afford whatever jewelry he wanted. But not just any engagement ring would suffice. He wanted his mother's ring, the one his father proposed with. It was the only one he felt was fitting, the only one worthy enough to be wrapped around her finger. There was just one problem. His mother was buried with it. And then came the weird part. Red offered me $10,000 in cash to dig up his mother's grave and retrieve the ring from her dead finger. He said that he would do it himself, but he didn't have the nerve. He couldn't bring himself to defile her gravesite like that. He wasn't exactly comfortable with me doing it either, but he truly felt this was the only way he could propose to his one true love. I pleaded with the guy. I really did. I told him to go to Jared's. I mean, women love rings from Jared's, for God's sake. Seriously. But alas, he wouldn't budge on the matter. And whether it was the allure of money that I could use to expand my business or the desire to help a desperate friend in need, I grudgingly accepted the job. I'm not going to make excuses here. I know you think I'm crazy for doing it. And yes, I most certainly was. I know this now. Hell, I knew it then too. But have you ever looked back on something you did in your past and wondered, what the hell was I thinking? Well, this was one of those moments for me. And try as one might, you can't go back and change this stupid crap you've done. This is something I'll just have to live with. Under the light of a full moon, I biked over to the cemetery. As conspicuous as the shovel protruding from my backpack looked, I managed to make it the whole way there without any trouble. After passing the bike entrance gates, I laid my bike down and set out on foot. The graveyard was consumed by late winter chill and an uneasy silence. My footsteps cut through the crisp night air, creating echoes that danced from headstone to headstone. I turned back from time to time and told myself it was just to check for passing cars. But really, I was afraid of ghosts lurking in the shadows. I never really believed in them, but being surrounded by hundreds of buried corpses in the middle of the night, it can do a number on your psyche. Growing more nervous with each passing moment, I trotted to the back of the cemetery in haste. My hurried pace was soon impeded by a fresh pile of white marble, upon which was etched the name Abigail Greenwood in a stunningly elegant font. This was it. This was Red's mother, right where he said she'd be. It was time to get down to business. In the hopes of saving at least a little bit of face, I will say that in this moment, what I was doing did feel deeply wrong on a moral level. I was about to vandalize and rob the grave of a deceased stranger. She didn't deserve this, and I very well knew it. How would I live with myself, knowing that I disturbed her peaceful slumber? That question had a simple answer. With 10,000 in my pocket, that's how. I had come too far to turn back, and I foolishly felt that this was the best way to further my financial endeavors. May God have mercy on my soul. The whole process took only about 6.5 hours, a little less time than I'd expected. I suppose shoveling driveways every year prepared me for this pivotal yet strange moment in my life. After all was said and done, I looked at the coffin below and panted profusely. Despite being utterly exhausted, I had no time to waste. Daylight was on its way, and I had to get the hell out of Dodge before it shrouded the land of the dead. With how narrow the hole was, there was no way I could open up the coffin by conventional means. Adding insult to injury for poor Abigail, I had to use my shovel to break through the confines of her deathbed. Eventually, I desecrated the entire cover, allowing me ample room to retrieve the ring, no matter which hand it was on. Victory was within reach. Before taking my prize, I looked at the woman I was about to steal from. The sight of her corpse was a grotesque one. She had only been buried for about a year, so her flesh had not fully decayed yet. It sat on her skin like batter on an undercooked drumstick. To top it off, maggots crawled around every inch of her surface. It was sickening. Just as I was about to reach past the flesh-eating bugs and grab Abigail's hand, something crazy happened. It was dark, that's for sure, but I swear I saw her begin to sit up in her grave. The movement was subtle, but it was enough for me to take notice. I was startled, but it took a few seconds for the gravity of the situation to sink in. When it did, I became so spooked that I hightailed it out of there without a second thought. And that is the gist of my late-night adventure. Pretty lame, right? I went through all that grief just to chicken out at the last minute. Pathetic, I know, but you weren't there to experience it. As I climbed out of the hole, I thought I felt something brush against my ankle. Perhaps Abigail's brittle hands attempting to pull me back to my death. As I ran to my bike, I pictured her crawling up from her earthly tomb and chasing me down the road until I was inevitably captured. This was the single most frightening night in my life. I was scared and didn't give a flying flip about Red or the 10,000. I just wanted to get the hell out of there. Of course, upon arriving home, logic set in, and I realized the error of my ways. It was entirely possible that Abigail was as still as stone, and I only thought I saw her move. What I felt against my ankle was more than likely maggots crawling up my pant leg. I had let the entire eerie atmosphere of the cemetery get the better of me, and was now out 10 grand and a good friend. Just my damn luck. I almost went back, but the sun was beginning to rise. I couldn't risk being spotted and going to jail, although that was a likely outcome regardless. Instead, I wallowed in self-pity and ignored Red's calls for a couple of days. Soon enough, my failed grave robbery was all over the news. But here's the thing. When the police discovered my handiwork, something was profoundly amiss. Abigail's casket was empty.